This is John. John is broke. Very broke. The kind of broke where his bank account looks more like an emergency phone number than a bank account. John isn't exactly handsome either. If looks were a video game, John accidentally started on expert mode. But John's biggest problem isn't money. And it isn't his face. It's that John wants everything: a mansion, a supercar, financial freedom, the dream girl, the perfect life. Basically, John wants all the things social media promised him he could have. And like millions of people before him, John believes there's a secret rich people know, a secret successful people know, a secret he somehow missed. So John begins the hunt: books, podcasts, courses, motivational videos, experts, gurus, self-made millionaires, and people who claim to be self-made millionaires. At one point, John even bought a course from a guy filming in front of a Lamborghini. Later, he discovered the Lamborghini was rented, but that's a different story. Anyway, after years of searching, John still hasn't found the secret. What he did find was something much worse: advice. Lots of advice, conflicting advice. One guy said, wake up at 4 a.m. Another said, sleep is the key to success. One said, follow your passion. Another said, never follow your passion. At this point, John began to suspect that humanity had absolutely no idea what it was talking about. And that's when John decided to search for the final answer. Or more accurately, to stop searching for it. No more chasing. No more optimizing. No more treating his life like a broken machine that needed constant fixing. John had tried enough things already, and honestly, none of them seemed to work very well. So he decided to try the one thing he had never tried before. Nothing, at least nothing intentional. No grand plan, no master strategy, no revolutionary life system, and strangely, nothing terrible happened. The sky didn't fall, the economy didn't collapse, his rent was still due, and his coffee still tasted like coffee. Life simply carried on, but then something unexpected happened. John started noticing things: the baker who smiled every morning, the mechanic who genuinely seemed to enjoy fixing engines, the old couple taking the same walk every day, a kid laughing hysterically at something that wasn't even funny. And the more John watched, the stranger life seemed. The happiest people didn't seem obsessed with happiness. The calmest people weren't trying to control everything. And the most successful people didn't look desperate to become successful. That made absolutely no sense. At least to John, because his entire life had been built around one simple belief: if you want something, try harder. And if that doesn't work, try even harder. Sounds reasonable, right? John thought so too, until he decided to test it for 1 month. He stopped trying to be happy, stopped trying to impress people, stopped trying to force everything to go according to plan. And something weird happened. Nothing got worse. In fact, a few things actually got better, which was incredibly annoying because it completely destroyed John's favorite theory: that trying harder automatically makes life better. Unfortunately for John, he still had one old habit. Whenever life didn't go according to plan, his first instinct was to control it. If it rained on the weekend, John got frustrated, as if the weather had personally betrayed him. If someone didn't like him, John wanted to change their mind. If a plan fell apart, John made a new plan, then another one, then a backup plan for the backup plan. John always believed the problem was that he wasn't trying hard enough. But John was wrong. The problem was never that he tried too little. The problem was that he was trying to control the wrong things. John wanted to control the weather. He couldn't. What he could control was bringing an umbrella. John wanted to control what other people thought about him. He couldn't. What he could control was how he treated them. John wanted to control the future. He couldn't. What he could control was what he did today. That was John's biggest mistake. And honestly, it's a mistake most people make. We spend hours worrying about things outside our control, then ignore the things that are actually within it. John kept staring at the outcome, when he should have been focusing on the action. John tried to control the destination, when the only thing he could really control was the very next step. And that's when John started to understand something important. Life isn't difficult because it's complicated. Life becomes difficult when we try to control things that were never ours to control in the first place. After learning to stop trying to control everything, John realized he was still doing a terrible job at controlling one important thing: his own sleep. While John and the rest of us are busy trying to control our future, our brain is quietly working the night shift. When you sleep deeply, your brain activates its own cleaning crew. Cerebrospinal fluid rushes through your brain tissue, washing away toxins and metabolic waste that built up during the day. Even more fascinating, your brain actually shrinks slightly while you sleep. The cells contract to create more space so the cleaning fluid can flow more efficiently. Your brain makes up 60% fat and burns about 20% of your daily calories just by thinking. Yet many of us sabotage it by doom scrolling until 2 to 3 a.m., then wake up wondering why our mind feels so foggy. Simple truth: sleeping 8 hours isn't lazy. It's letting the night shift crew do their job properly. Sleeping too little means you're running a high-performance supercomputer with yesterday's garbage still inside. Okay. After improving his sleep, John felt sharper and calmer, but he soon discovered another big trap he had fallen into for years. Happiness is like a cat. The harder you chase it, the faster it runs away. But when you stop obsessing over it, it often jumps into your lap on its own. John used to think the same way most people do. Once I have the money, the perfect relationship, the dream body, then I'll finally be happy. But science shows something surprising. Your brain has a built-in happiness set point. Win the lottery? You feel amazing for a while. Have a serious accident? You feel terrible for a while. But for most people, after about 6 months, they return to roughly the same level of happiness as before. This is called the hedonic treadmill. You keep running faster and faster, but you don't really move forward. Happiness isn't a destination you reach. It's a byproduct. It comes from making progress, building meaningful connections, finding purpose, and giving, not from acquiring more stuff. John finally understood the paradox. The less desperately you need happiness, the more easily it shows up. After understanding the happiness paradox, John started observing his own mind more carefully. What he discovered next was uncomfortable, but extremely important. Your biased brain. Your brain is not a truth-seeking machine. It's a survival machine that's really good at making you feel right. It doesn't care about truth as much as it cares about feeling safe, consistent, and superior. That's why it's filled with cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that distort reality without you even noticing. For example, confirmation bias. Your brain loves information that proves you're right and ignores everything that proves you're wrong. Halo effect. If someone is attractive or charismatic, you automatically assume they're also smart and trustworthy. Loss aversion. Losing $100 hurts much more than gaining $100 feels good. Illusory superiority. Most people believe they're above average at almost everything: driving, intelligence, humor, even being humble. John realized the funny and painful truth. We judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. We remember our successes and conveniently forget our failures, and we're all walking around with invisible filters that edit reality to match what we already believe. The scariest part? You can't completely turn these biases off, they're hardwired, but you can become aware of them. Awareness is your only real defense. Next time you feel absolutely certain about something, pause and ask yourself, which bias is speaking right now? Because your brain isn't showing you the world as it is. It's showing you the world as it needs you to see it. After becoming more aware of his biased brain, John started paying closer attention to how he actually made decisions. What he learned next completely changed how he understood himself. The 90-10 emotional rule. 90% of your decisions are driven by emotion. Only 10% are truly logical. Your rational mind isn't the driver. It's just the passenger writing the story after the trip has already begun. You think you chose your career logically? No. You felt drawn to it first, then used logic to justify it. You felt something about a person, then created reasons to support that feeling. Your emotional brain processes information 500,000 times faster than your logical brain. By the time you think you're deciding, your emotions have usually already decided. This isn't a weakness, it's actually great news. Emotions are data, not orders. The real power lives in that small pause between feeling and action. John finally understood. You don't have to obey every emotion you feel, but you should listen to them, understand them, and then choose consciously. Master that pause and you master your life. John had just started to understand how emotions were secretly running his life. Then he discovered something even wilder. His memories were basically fan fiction. Your memory. The personal fiction writer. Your memories are not accurate recordings of the past. They're more like Wikipedia pages that you and your ego keep editing together. Every time you recall something, your brain doesn't replay the original event. It rebuilds it, filling in gaps, changing details, and sometimes straight up adding scenes that never happened. You're not remembering what actually occurred. You're remembering the last edited version of the story. Scientists have even implanted completely fake memories so convincing that people would bet their life on them. That epic childhood story you love telling? Yeah, it might be 40% Hollywood. That traumatic memory you've been carrying for years? Your brain may have turned it into a drama series with extra seasoning. John realized the funny and slightly terrifying truth. Since your memories are already being creatively rewritten anyway, why not take control of the editing room? You can't change what actually happened, but you can choose which parts to highlight and which parts to send to the trash bin. Your past isn't a documentary, it's a story you keep telling yourself. Might as well make it a good one, instead of a sad sitcom rerun. After realizing he could rewrite his own story, John started looking at how he was actually spending his time and energy. What he found was eye-opening. The 80-20 life principle. 20% of what you do creates 80% of your results. The rest? Mostly expensive noise. Look at your life right now. 20% of your relationships give you 80% of your joy and support. 20% of your tasks produce 80% of your results. 20% of your habits cause 80% of your problems. This is the famous 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. It shows up everywhere. In business, 20% of customers usually make 80% of the profit. In your closet, you wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. John realized he had been majoring in minor things, spending hours on tasks that barely moved the needle while ignoring the few things that actually mattered. The brutal but liberating truth. Most of what you do is waste, but that also means you can cut out 80% of your effort and barely notice the difference if you focus on the vital 20%. Stop optimizing the 80% that doesn't matter. Double down on the 20% that does. Identify your vital few, protect them, ruthlessly remove or reduce everything else. After learning to focus on the vital 20%, John started examining his daily routines more closely. What he found was that he wasn't lazy, he was just running on autopilot with bad programming. Habit loops. Your autopilot system. You don't have bad habits. You have perfectly working habit loops with terrible rewards. Every habit follows the same three-step loop. Cue to routine to reward. See phone notification, cue. To check social media, routine. To get dopamine hit, reward. Feel stressed, cue. Leads to eat junk food, routine. Leads to temporary comfort, reward. Your brain doesn't care if the habit is good or bad for you. It just runs the program on autopilot. The average person runs about 40% of their day on these automatic loops. Here's the good news. You can't delete old habits. The neural pathways are already built, but you can replace them. Keep the same cue and reward, but upgrade the routine. Stressed? Instead of eating junk, do 10 push-ups or go for a quick walk. Same reward. Stress relief. Much better outcome. John realized autopilot isn't the enemy. Bad programming is. Design your loops consciously and your autopilot becomes your greatest ally. One evening, John sat quietly and reflected on the 9 powerful lessons he had learned. The harder you desperately chase something, the more it eludes you. You can only control your own actions and reactions, nothing else. Your brain cleans itself every night during deep sleep. Happiness cannot be chased directly. It's a byproduct of meaning and progress. Your brain is full of biases and rarely shows you pure truth. Most of your decisions, 90%, are emotional, not logical. Your memories are stories you keep rewriting, not accurate records. 20% of your efforts create 80% of your results. You can change bad habits by upgrading the routine, not by trying to delete them. After reviewing these lessons, John smiled and understood the final piece of the puzzle. The compound effect. Here's the simple math that ties everything together. Get 1% better every single day, and in 1 year you'll be 37 times better. Get 1% worse every day, and you'll decline almost to nothing. Success isn't about big dramatic changes. It's about small daily improvements compounding over time. Read 10 pages a day leads to nearly 12 books a year. Save a little money daily leads to thousands of dollars a year. Exercise just 15 minutes daily leads to a transformed body and mind. John finally understood. He had been overestimating what he could do in one day and massively underestimating what he could achieve in 1 year. The compound effect works in both directions, for better or worse. The secret isn't motivation, it's consistency and small, smart choices. All right, congrats, John. Now fuck off, John. I'm Capybara 007. Don't forget me.